Buenos días a todos y muchísimas gracias por vuestra presencia. En nombre del comité organizador local y como presidente del Colegio Oficial de Veterinarios de Burgos, es para mí un gran placer dar la bienvenida a la ciudad de Burgos, aunque tenga que
welcome you to Burgos, though it has to be virtual. Those who have visualized the webpage of the conference can check that we live in a very important city full of history, art, welcoming people, with a very beautiful cathedral, which is a symbol of the city that is now 800 years old from the beginning of the first stone. In the city center, which is close to the cathedral, we can find the Human Evolution Museum. And 15 kilometers away from the city, we have what we call the Atapuerca sites, the cradle of Europe. The pandemic has made it possible, hasn't made it possible to meet physically and prevent us from visiting these beautiful places and the green areas and food that the city has. Burgos is the beginning of the Castilian or Spanish language. And I also can say that it's also the beginning or the cradle of welfare or well-being framework. The first speaker, Rebecca, started in the Veterinarian College in Burgos in 2016 with a multidisciplinary team, including not only veterinarians, but also emergency services, farmers, members of the police, etc. When Dr. Garcia Pinillos said to me some time ago about the vision to held the One Welfare Conference in Burgos, in the College of Veterinarians, we decided to support her initiative and to cooperate in the organization of this event, because this represents a very important landmark for veterinarians in the province and also in the country and internationally. This third conference has a very important training program that represents or is a scientific congress or seminar, which is going to build very important networks. Spanish legislation has incorporated a lot of very important items, important for us, with a lot of regulations about human welfare and well-being. I would like to highlight the important change that is taking place in Spain. A lot of farmers have an idea about welfare that is beyond food, drink, mobility, etc., which is called good health, to establish another very important parameter, which is the emotional part, the emotional status of these animals. They know that if they improve their emotions, production is also going to be better. The COVID-19 has changed the life of everyone, and in the city of Burgos during lockdown, we know that a lot of people adopted and fostered more animals. I want to say that pets, until now defined as company animals, are now defined as animals with feelings, with sentiment, as another member of our families. The College of Veterinarians in Burgos wants to train our members in an ongoing process. That's why we work to train our clinicians on responsible ownership of pets, so that our professional people and veterinarians spread the information with the owners. I want to highlight the solidarity of Spanish veterinarians to assist wild fauna affected by fires in Ávila and Sierra Bermeja in Málaga. I know that these topics will be talked about deeply in the seminar. And in spite of the physical distance, I want you to feel welcome to Burgos. I want to wish you the best with this seminar and that you enjoy it. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to give the floor to Rebecca García Pinillos, the responsible of One Welfare, who is going to really welcome you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tomás, and good morning, good night, or good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this conference in Burgos Virtual. As Tomás said before, 7 years ago, I started to work on the welfare concept in a voluntary way. I never imagined that in the future I could be introducing and presenting a seminar as such. It is very important for me to clarify that this work is voluntary and independent. During my career, the One Welfare concept get me to be close to different realities in the world, to expand my holistic vision and to see clearly how, in spite of differences, we are all connected directly or indirectly. One Welfare scope helps us identifying animal welfare and human well-being as a very important part of our scope in a given environment, and it also reflects many of the situations that we have observed in the world. For me, it's just something as a memory where thinking about my close colleagues in England, I apologize, I'm getting emotional. But in 2015, they helped me to develop my initial idea, who's growing up in the years. I introduced the concept in a poster, the One Welfare umbrella, and I invited my colleagues to read an articles. They were a support for me. The poster traveled throughout the Federation of Universities of Animal Welfare in New York, where I introduced the basis of the One Welfare framework. One of my colleagues introduced me to Del Duma and Richard Brask, who initiated the first seminar on One Welfare. So my poster traveled to Canada and then to the World Seminar on Welfare in Mexico and in Europe, in Portugal, concretely. And after this preliminary presentation, as Tomás said, I introduced the One Welfare concept in the Veterinarian College, or the College of Veterinaries in Burgos, which was the beginning, the cradle really of this adventure. And from there, I went to visit different places, organizations which were incredible to me, and also kept me safe, because I lived specific accidents and incidents, and I wasn't in the place because of my work. Is it just a coincidence? I think that welfare is a concept that has a very good karma. And this seminar is going to help you build and reinforce different things which are important initiatives around the welfare concept. I'm sorry. I apologize because I'm getting very emotional, but this welfare concept is very important for many countries. I know that you are working on that, because the world has changed in the last years. It's going to change more and more, but I've never thought that after the second World Welfare Conference in Australia by Anne Quain, October 9, 2019, more than 17 million hectares burned, and very important landscapes as the Cathedral of Burgos that I visited in Australia, like Katoomba Mountains, the Blue Mountains, were devastated, and they lost 80% of their forest mass because of the fire. And not only that, we couldn't imagine that this conference would not.
Increíble. Mi gran ilusión era haberos recibido a todos en Burgos, junto al equipo local, Tomás, el colegio de veterinarios, y haber compartido juntos una gran experiencia.
It's for me a pleasure to connect with you and to grow up together with the Human Evolution Museum in the St. James pilgrimage. So I know that it is a pity that we cannot meet physically, but the truth is that these changes at the world level have got us closer, and now we have a lot of participants in a virtual way. So it's good in a way. It's something that we can celebrate. So getting into the conference, this is the first time that welfare is the main topic in a conference. Some people might think that this is crazy, but the truth is that throughout these years, several universities have introduced or are in the process to introduce welfare as a part of the undergraduate and postgraduate degrees. This is being a reality in some publications where we are seeing more and more research articles, including welfare as a concept to highlight specific relationships involved in welfare. And in my work, I support this type of academia papers, and I think it is something that we need to evolve in the future. Your interest, your work prove that welfare is a very good concept. Having a lot of representatives here from different countries during these 2 days. Welfare is something that we need to remember in universities. In the conference, in this seminar, you're going to see that some communications and presentations are not just scientific. We have operational models that can be inspiring for you. You will also see that some of the industries and sectors have adopted welfare more than others, and this is reflected in the distribution of the presentations. That's why within this seminar, I wanted to adapt the Sayed Islam model, creating what we call the OSWM sessions. It is a pleasure for me to share these sessions with you, these fantastic sessions that we call in Spanish, because I want to thank you for participating and for presenting different topics, different sessions, which is not just an oral presentation. It requires encouragement and courage. And I hope that we can repeat the experience in the future. This seminar is not about health itself, but we cannot forget the link between welfare and health. And that's why many presentations are going to talk about this link. We need to complement health with welfare and animal welfare, supporting the compilation of evidence. This can lead us to have more solid evidence with more efficient interventions and a better cooperation between disciplines. Some programs about health already include welfare aspects, but this seminar is going to expand the scope of health with the inclusion of professional people who are not very introduced in the health environment. So we need to have a different scope, having this necessary space to integrate different and additional disciplines. Data about animals and human beings will deal with different aspects, but the truth is that there are different empty spaces where we need to improve to have more relationships between human and animals. Sometimes we find barriers to acknowledge the interconnections that sometimes we find in our daily practice. As some of you already know, my vision is that welfare or well-being can expand the benefits of the wealth perspective to integrate more professional people in a more holistic way with health and well-being. In conclusion, in a moment in history where separation is our reality, I think that these type of seminars can meet us together to work closely, improving the well-being of our society. I hope that we can enjoy the seminar and that you can learn a lot of things as an inspiration to contribute with many different things to make the world a better place. Thank you very much.
Paso la palabra a mi compañero Tomás, que introducirá al siguiente ponente.
And I'm going to leave the floor to our next speaker. Unfortunately, the mic is muted. Sorry, as I was saying, I was muted, but I'm going to leave the floor to Andrea Gavinelli from the European Commission. He's going to be talking about One Welfare and the EU Animal Welfare Farm to Fork Framework. I'm going to leave the floor to Andrea now. Thank you.
Hello, good morning or good evening to everyone. Good morning, Rebecca, and thank you very much for the virtual invitation to Burgos. It's a pity, really, that we cannot share time and the location. Surely rich of history and a fantastic place for hospitality. Anyway, it's a pleasure to join and to be starting opening this event on a concept that is a very important element for our policy making in the European Union. There is a moment in which, in fact, the strategy that was adopted in 2020 called Farm to Fork in the frame of the Green Deal, and so the larger strategy of the European Union to embrace an holistic concept to preserve and engage as much as possible in saving the resources for our planet includes, in fact, the food chain and in particular animal welfare. Animal welfare, so and the policies related to it have been recognized as an important element strategic for the next policy initiatives of the Union. We have so a clear recognition of the fact that definitely human and animals in the European Union have to live in a way together, in a combination in which there is the important need to redress elements that are impacting negatively on the environment, on the quality of life, on the health of both human and animals. But it's coming together with another element that is not new, but is reinforced by the Farm to Fork strategy. The fact that we have a responsibility recognized more and more through the Treaty of the European Union, but the way we are addressing legislation and we are thinking about the future legislation of the EU is the responsibility that is having an ethical and moral component versus, in fact, the animals that are surrounding us in different forms, from the food-producing one to the pets. It's a huge challenge that we have started in order to reform the approach of the Union to this. Clear cut since the 90s, even before, the European citizens have chosen to support the legislative steps to protect animal welfare. It was a very unique and innovative approach more than 30 years ago. And now, of course, we're not alone in the world in terms of welfare legislation and welfare standards. There are multilateral organizations and even bilateral agreements that now recognize this value. And this is really an important progress made in the last years. But the future is really important and challenging and connected with this concept of one welfare. The elements that we have to evaluate is, in fact, first of all, if the legislation that was prepared and was leading for the last 30 years is ready to cope with this demand. This demand that incorporate, in fact, this demand of sustainability and ethics. We started an operation that is called Fitness Check, and this will go ahead for the next 2 years till the moment in 2023 in which the Commission is engaged to produce a proposal or more to reform the current set of legislation. That's why debates like the one you will have in this event, I saw already the next session, incorporating with an holistic approach, in fact, environment, health, and welfare, and several elements, will be practically the way that will lead our impact assessment in the EU for assessing, in fact, which proposal and which type of option we will choose. Well, we are not forgetting farmers here that are at the center of the system, especially when you talk about farm animals. But there are several mechanisms and tools also, not only the welfare legislation, but are adapted and will be adapted to support this transition. This is an important task that is demanded to the Common Agricultural Policy of the European Union, and all the instrument too, that has been many times renovated, refreshed, refurbished in terms of tools. And after so many refurbishment, we can say, we have now that issue like the one of animal welfare is becoming, and the environment are becoming central to several mechanisms of support, not only in the first pillar, but also in the rural development. And we call about eco schemes, for example, now to support the transition to new measures and new initiatives, like even increasing the biodiversity in terms of animals that are farmed in the European Union, increase the resilience. We are in fact coming out of another lessons learned that is not finished yet, but in fact left to us already a big mark, that is the COVID pandemic. We'll learn about discussing about resilience, we'll learn about discussing about technical and scientific data about epidemiology. We'll learn about many things that are connected exactly with this discussion that we have in the Farm to Fork strategy. We had already a first consultation of European citizens, in fact, in terms of this. And this first consultation was done during the summer, brought more than 1,000 contributions with more than 300 different organizations. They were leading to proposals for the future that are revolutionary in terms of the EU system for farming and the relation with animals. One, for example, is the phasing out of the cages. We have had incredible success in terms of citizens that have been signing an initiative to demand the Commission to phase out the cages for several species, from poultry to cows or pigs, for example. This demand has been taken up by the EU Commission that, in fact, after having discussed internally and seeing with the citizens and stakeholders, decided to engage to go in that direction. It's something that is having no precedent in terms of a decision. So we're working to make it now a reality in terms of a legislative future. And so we are also looking to the effects that a big transition to no cages will provoke, also in terms of trade and market. Well, it's not so easy with few minutes to list the potential of these moments and the years that we have till 2023, but not only. I wish to say that the European Parliament is fully engaged in this reform and supportive in this trend, even for the European cage ban. In fact, we had the full support of the plenary of the European Parliament. Now, we are launching again in our step called Better Regulation. In fact, we are launching another public consultation that will start in October and open for the 2 months subsequent, and will be in fact a moment that ends with a conference to all of you. You are invited, in fact, to highlight the achievement of this year of consultations and open up the second step, that is the real preparation of the new legislative frame. This will be on the 9th of December 2021. Will be hopefully an hybrid event, so hopefully to meet someone. Not in a beautiful city like Burgos, but anyway, we will do our best in Brussels. So the situation, as I mentioned, related to the Farm to Fork, and the challenge, I think, for the next days for you, in my opinion, is really to, in a scenario that is flowing quickly, is mutating in terms of policies, in terms of social and active participation by the citizens, in terms of technology and science, is really an essential moment to see how this concept of one welfare and the concept of Farm to Fork sustainability match together. I think there is a lot to see and a lot to discuss to see the ingredients and the catalyzer of this process that is needed. In addition, to be clear, as we are now discussing one welfare, and this language is pretty new for the many of the people that are working in the Commission, it's in my opinion extremely important to reverberate and bring an echo outside the already big world of the people joining this event, but really to the people that are outside this event that probably could profit about these ideas. And it's something that, to be honest, that is still a little creature developing, of course, and needs to be seen and connected with all the other arguments we're talking about. So the Farm to Fork strategy per se is not, and I hope it's clear, just one of the main policy documents of the Commission, but is a set of ideas, a way of life. It's not just an element to push and support more organic farming. It's there, but it's not yet only that. It's really in the hopes of the policy and the people working with me, a way that will ensure to raise as much as possible the level of animal welfare for the European Union and lead globally, and respond to the different demands of the EU citizens, responding in particular to this demand of more ethics and moral responsibilities versus the animals, and the environment. So I conclude here my keynote opening. I wish really that you could have a fruitful set of discussion, and I look forward to listen to what will be the outcomes. I know some of you here, and I really hope to meet again and to bring on this concept in a global perspective, of course. I mentioned many times the EU as being the platform and the environment where I'm moving and working mainly, but we should feel all together a global responsible for this. So thank you very much, Rebecca, and good luck. Thank you to all.